A high school graduation trip should be a time for celebration, a time to make memories with friends, to look forward to the future. But for 18-year-old Natalie Martin, that future was stolen from her in the most tragic way imaginable. Natalie and her former boyfriend, Blake Linkis, traveled with a group of friends to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, in June 2023. But what started as a fun getaway ended in a horrific crime. Only one of them would return home. Authorities say that Linkis strangled Natalie to death in their rental home, then attempted to take his own life before being discovered. And now, nearly 2 years later, his trial is finally about to begin. Welcome to Crime Watch HQ, where we break down real-life cases, uncover shocking details, and analyze the legal battles that follow. Today, we're diving deep into the disturbing story of Natalie Martin and the upcoming trial of her accused killer, Blake Linkis. The night everything changed. Natalie and Linkis were high school sweethearts, but their relationship had ended before this trip. Still, they found themselves together on that fateful night. Friends reported that Natalie had been texting another guy, which led to an argument between her and Linkis. That evening, while the rest of the group went out to a club, Natalie decided to head back early. Linkis went with her. No one could have predicted what would happen next. When friends returned later that night, they noticed something strange. The front door was locked. No one answered. They had to go through the back. And then they heard 3 loud thuds. But when they checked the living room, everything seemed normal. The door to the bedroom where Natalie and Linkis were staying was locked, so they assumed everything was fine. It wasn't. By morning, Linkis came bursting out of the room, bleeding and screaming that Natalie wasn't waking up. He had reportedly stabbed himself in the chest, possibly in an attempt to take his own life. But it was too late for Natalie. When friends rushed in to check on her, her body was cold. Authorities believe she had been dead for hours. The evidence against Linkis. According to an arrest warrant from Horry County, South Carolina, Linkis was charged with murder. Investigators say he strangled Natalie, deliberately and with intent. But how can they prove what really happened behind that locked door? Prosecutors will rely on multiple pieces of evidence, witness testimonies from friends who were there that night, digital evidence such as text messages exchanged before the incident, crime scene analysis, including possible DNA and fingerprint evidence, autopsy findings, which may reveal signs of struggle or defensive wounds. Perhaps the most damning piece of evidence, a reported confession. Prosecutors claim that Linkis admitted to police that he strangled Natalie after their argument. If this confession holds up in court, it could seal his fate. The defense's strategy. Despite the weight of the evidence, Linkis's defense team will likely argue for a lesser charge. They may claim that this was a crime of passion, not premeditated murder. If they succeed, Linkis could see a reduced sentence, possibly manslaughter instead of life in prison. One potential defense angle, the claim that he acted in the heat of the moment, without prior intent. However, strangulation is a prolonged act, which prosecutors will use to argue that this was no accident. What happens next? Linkis's trial is set to begin next week. If convicted, he faces a minimum of 30 years behind bars, possibly life. But will justice be served for Natalie Martin? As the trial unfolds, we'll be following every development. What do you think? Should Linkis get the maximum sentence, or is there room for leniency? Let us know in the comments below. Stay tuned for more updates on Crime Watch HQ. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update on the latest true crime stories.